The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign, trusted by over 500 NFL players for their winning smiles. And broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your host, Nicole Hutchison.
Wake up, Cowboys Nation. Welcome into Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign in the SWBC studio. I'm Nicole Hutchison alongside Brianna Aldridge, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison. Ladies, what's popping? We had a mini bye week. How y'all doing? Wake up! Wake up. Good morning.
It was so fun to watch football, especially games like up in Buffalo in the snow, not have to stand there on the sideline and freeze. But there was some awesome action yesterday in the NFL, and even the Vikings offense played well, just in time, to come to Arlington for AT&T Stadium for primetime next week. So yeah, it was fun to watch and see the playoff kind of settle out, right? Not a lot of clarity, but a few teams really helped themselves this weekend.
Yeah, and the Texans obviously beating the team that we we beat actually, but just talking about, this Texans team, how do they look right now? Just because you got a chance to watch the game. How do they look right now? And
well, the first half looked great, and then Chris Jones and the KC defense woke up in the second half, and I think the Texans were limited to minus 2 yards on 12 plays in the third quarter. I think it was 4 3 and outs, but then came through in the fourth quarter when they needed to. So with the injury situation with the Colts and Daniel Jones tearing an Achilles.
That was rough to see.
Oh, man, hate that for that kid, a fine young man. Jason Garrett is a friend, and when Jason left the Cowboys and was with New York Giants and had Daniel Jones there, and thinks so much of him and what a great young man that he is. So just sad to see it that, what was a great season for him and for the Colts. Yeah. Man, it's going to be tough for the Colts to overcome that injury.
Mm-hmm. With the Texans, they actually, I hate that we're talking about the Texans right now, I'm sorry, but but no, with the Texans, they actually moved inside the top 7, of course, AFC playoff picture right now. But let's move to the NFC, of course. Cowboys, their playoff percentage was at 10%. Before the Lions, they could have moved up to 39%, and now they are back to 8% chance to making the playoffs this year. But, of course, even Dak and post-game talked about it. It's basically still on us. We just got to win out. Like, we kind of tainted our chances a little bit because of the way that they played. But I know we kind of broke down the game last Friday, but just big takeaways from that game was this offensive line not playing up to par. When you look through the first 15 weeks, because we're going into week 15, so week 15 of the weeks of the season, where does this offensive line kind of stand in y'all's minds in terms of their performance?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go ahead, Aisha.
Interior offensive line, good. Tackles, how'd I say? Meh.
Okay.
That's really how it's been, is that you've invested in the strength of that offensive line being the interior that has helped you in games, that has helped you be able to run the ball and things like that. But, people's ability to attack your tackles, it hasn't affected you a whole bunch because the quarterback has been able to navigate it. This past game, I think we saw it really affect the quarterback, even though he still played pretty well, all things considering. A lot of the things that they wanted to set up offensively, they were not able to, because they were having to help out the tackles. And even so, when you start talking about George Pickens getting bracketed coverage and then CeeDee Lamb taking advantage, the middle of the field was open, and you couldn't really take advantage of that the way you wanted to, because Jake Ferguson was really trying to help out those tackles as he was going into into running routes and stuff. So I just think the tackle situation and it kind of being unstable, it really showed its ugly head the other day for the offense. And I think it had the quarterback's clock sped up, and some of the things that we thought they would have taken advantage of down the field, they weren't able to because they didn't have enough. He didn't have enough time back there. So that's my thoughts on the offensive line's performance on Thursday.
You say the investment in the interior of the line, and I would say they've invested heavily at tackle as well.
That's fair.
Tyler Guyton with a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So you invested there, and then Terrence Steele coming into the season with the third, big money deal, and he is the as the season began, or we began training camp, third largest cap hit and third largest base salary on the team. So the financial investment is there, but yeah, they've certainly gotten more consistent play from the interior.
Yeah, I think the weak spot, everyone knew where it was. Like you guys mentioned, the tackles coming into the situation. You're wondering if Tyler Guyton's going to take that big step. You know what you got out of Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele's going to give you what he gives you. He's consistent, but you know what his weaknesses are. And I think the difference is we were giving them so much praise early in the season when they did have all those guys out on the offensive line. What was it, 4 at one time?
Yeah.
That were gone.
It was heavy.
Yeah.
And I think we gave a lot of credit to the coaching staff, but we have to remember where we're at in the season as well. Like, we're going into week 15. There's a lot of tape out there. I think that's the difference from the beginning when other teams, why we stress the fact that it's so important to try to get some of these scrappy games and get some wins when you're talking about September football, when you're talking about October football, because now we're sitting here hoping other teams don't play well going into week 15. And I think that's pretty similar what we saw on the O-line, and the teams got better. I mean, that's realistic.
Yeah.
Everybody was laughing when I picked the Chiefs a couple before we were looking at the stretch and the bye, and I was like, I think they can get the win against the Chiefs because the Chiefs don't look like the normal Chiefs offensively. You saw that again last night. I went to sleep early, so apparently didn't get much better after I fell asleep at the half. But the offenses, if you look who they faced when they got, the Eagles have been struggling offensively. The Chiefs have been struggling offensively. You know what you got with the Raiders. They don't really have a true offense. And then you faced a decent offense who is on paper is equally as good as you when you're looking at their run game, when you're looking at what they have in their pass game. And I think it ate you up a little bit. Yeah. It was a little bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, absolutely. Cowboys offensive line, this was just the first half alone. Terrence Steele out 3 pressures, Cooper Beebe 3, Nate Thomas 2, Tyler Smith and Booker combined for 1. But Dak Prescott, of course, was under pressure all night. Nearly half of his dropbacks, he was under pressure. Or you talk about, the ability to now, I hate that we have to talk about draft.
It's okay.
But it's getting to the point where we may have to be talking about it sooner than later. But when you just kind of rank the positions that you feel like the Cowboys need, where does offensive line fall on that list?
Baby, it ain't that high. It ain't first round. It ain't first round again high. I hope not. I don't. I mean, obviously you want them to go BPA, but I think they're gonna probably. I mean, are y'all assuming that they're gonna probably give Tyler Guyton another year to? Because he's been. Of course he should, and he's been dealing with injuries. Like, that's the biggest thing, is getting him to stay. Hoping that he can stay healthy and then be able to build upon, the time that he spent. Terrence Steele, if I'm not mistaken, this is his this offseason. They can release or cut him, and that will save them some money or whatever the case may be. I wonder what Dallas looks to do with right tackle, if that's something that changes, or if they decide to just bring in a veteran or whatever. I think you still have, I know Adeniji is somebody that's on the roster. We saw him play decently when he was there, but I think right tackle probably is going to be the biggest focus, and knowing what happens with Terrence Steele.
Terrence Steele he's a free agent 2029 per Spotrac.
So he's here, but I'm pretty sure that they can release him or cut him or one of those, and it'll save them some Kizash in the offseason.
Kizash is crazy.
So,
Well,
but
I think Guyton's absence in Detroit hurt the team.
Yeah, because Nate was.
And so he's missed the last 2 games with that high ankle injury. But Jerry Jones was saying on his call-in show to 105.3 The Fan here in Dallas, which is the flagship station of Cowboys radio, that he expects Guyton to be available for Sunday Night Football against the Vikings. So that would, I think, help a lot.
It would definitely help, because Nate Thomas had trouble with Aiden Hutchinson's quickness off the line. I mean, it was a lot of lunging. It was a lot of being off balance. It was a rough night for Nate Thomas over there at the left tackle spot.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of one of the most underlooked, I'll say, topics of conversation, just because you look national and other radio stations, whatever, they're all talking about George Pickens, right? George Pickens and his, I'll say, down game. But I feel like that kind of deserves some grace, just because it's all right to have a down game as long as you pick it up the next week. However, when you need a game like that, it is unfortunate. But when you talk about a George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, I do want to ask the question before we take our first break. Think about it. When you take away a George Pickens, when you take away Jake Ferguson, do you feel like the Cowboys have enough weapons when you don't have a CeeDee Lamb when he goes down in a game like this? So think on that. We're going to take our first break here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign.
When you're on the field, you know what it takes to lead your team and play with confidence. But that confidence shouldn't just stop at game time. It should follow you off the field, too. Join over 500 NFL players who trust Invisalign, the #1 doctor-recommended clear aligner brand. Ready to take the first step towards a smile you'll love? Visit Invisalign.com/NFL and find a doctor near you today. Transform your smile and take your confidence to the next level, both on the field and off.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Heck of a win, fellas.
Coach, the Cowboys beat us by 30 points.
No, I'm talking about my dog. He started eating fresh food from the farmer's dog and has lost 7 pounds.
Your senior dog with joint issues?
That's right, Steven. The pre-portioned meals of real meat and veggies help keep him lean, active, and feeling like a puppy again.
That's incredible. But what about the game?
The Cowboys smoked us. Hit the field, run some sprints.
Get 50% off your first box of the official pet food of the Dallas Cowboys. Only at thefarmersdog.com/Cowboys.
How does the cheerleader's hair always look so perfect? We asked, and they shared one of their biggest beauty secrets. If you want hair like theirs and confidence to match, use Babyliss Pro styling tools. The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders use Babyliss Pro curling irons to get those perfect game day curls. To get the hair you see on the cheerleaders, head to BabylissPro.com. Use the code Cowboys20 for 20% off Babyliss Pro tools, the official styling tools of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Get the discount while it lasts. Offer may be withdrawn at any time at advertiser's discretion.
Celebrate the season at Cowboys Christmas Extravaganza powered by Reliant at the Star in Frisco. Join us every Friday and Saturday night from November 21st to December 20th for an electrifying holiday performance. For details, visit thestardistrict.com.
Welcome back in the Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign in the SWBC studio. Wake up! Nicole Hutchison, Brianna Aldridge, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison. Wake up! That was right on time. Right on tune as well. Wake up!
There we go.
That's great. It's 3 times. We need more. All right, Aisha, Christy, Bree, I pose the question. When you take away George Pickens, when you take away Jake Ferguson, of course, CeeDee Lamb is out of the game, so he was taken out of the game. Concussion protocol. When you talk about those 2 guys taken out of this game, bracketed, whatever, what does that do for this offense? And also, do you feel like this Cowboys team has enough weapons when those guys are taken out?
No.
Absolutely
no.
not. That is the offense.
No. Well,
Yeah.
but a lot of it depends on how well you're running the football. It's all predicated on that. And especially this season, the way that it's based on play action, right? If you get that going, Flanoy had a good game, right? And stepped up in the second half, particularly when CD went out with the concussion. But if you're not able to run the ball,
Good night.
yeah.
Night-night.
And how long have we been calling for more to Brevin Span for? Now I understand there's only one football. There's only one football that you can throw on a given play, but we think he can do it, but it hasn't been targeted a lot, right? So confidence comes from demonstrated ability, and we just had to, as Bill Parcells would always say, and we just haven't seen him targeted enough. But I think it's all based on the run game.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I think it's, it's pretty, you're paying these guys for a reason, and you take them out. I think Pickens is getting criticized so much because he proved for weeks that he could be that guy when CeeDee Lamb was taken out. I've heard both sides. I've heard, this is the same Pickens, the same routes he's been running since he got here. That's his style of play, and you can't question a man's effort. But I mean, the tape is the tape. At the end of the day, it just didn't look great. Am I going to sit here and say that he's just not this great wide receiver? No. I think Pickens has elite abilities, and he's shown elite things. I don't think he's an elite player right now where he is, but he is still that guy. We've seen him do crazy, incredible things. Jake Ferguson, I think there's some games where he's incredible and he's clutch, and then there's some games where he's a liability, and I think that's a real conversation to start having, and I think people are starting to have it when you're talking about 7 turnovers in 25 games. Like, that's a problem from your number one tight end. We talked about that a little bit last week, but to Christy's point, Javonte Williams is our running back. We look to him, and then when he's not going, it makes everything else that much harder.
Yeah, they decided to just put a lid on it. When it comes to, the secondary that you were playing, I feel like they decided to, make sure that they took away anything over the top. The middle of the field was open, and you couldn't really attack it as efficiently as you want to. Were able to figure out some things with Ryan Flanoy, and I want to give him some love because it takes a lot to just be efficient when your number's called that many times. Especially when you are essentially getting the ball because to start the game they're bracketing Pickens. CeeDee Lamb is going crazy because that's the reality of it. Is if CeeDee Lamb doesn't get injured, like he was doing whatever he wanted to out there. So then CeeDee Lamb gets injured. Okay, well, like you were saying, Bree, like the other team knows who gets paid the big bucks. So they kind of relax a little bit, and that secondary was a little bit more aggressive. Detroit's secondary was a little bit more aggressive. They were jumping routes and being physical and stuff, and that's because essentially also too is what Christy said, that's why the run game is so important. And Dallas couldn't get the ground game going efficiently enough to make Detroit have to say, hey, we can't just keep dropping all these guys in coverage. We're going to have a safety come help or help out in the middle of the field and kind of, dictate coverage. But one thing that I will say about this game in general, and when we're talking about a George Pickens and we're talking about some of those things, I do think that Shotty had some points in this game where I'm sure he's looking back and he's like, okay, I could have done this better. I could have adjusted to this better, because the slow starts, as Bree has brought up multiple times this season, I feel like it takes this offense a while to kind of not only get in a rhythm, but to also figure out what the other team is like doing towards them so they can counter it. And in this game in particular, it took too long. Like offensively, they were able to get some stuff figured out, and then you got a quarterback that's just willing to not give up. He's not going to give up on plays. But I do feel like the intensity of Detroit, and also too, we heard it. Multiple players said they threw things at them that they weren't expecting. Detroit is a predominantly man team. They ran some zone. They did some other cloud coverages. They threw some things at Dallas that they weren't expecting. I know that Shotty is a first-year head coach, play caller. How, moving forward, I want to see how he adjusts in the second half of games to some of the changes that they see, because I think you make a great point. Like, yeah, we're in week 15, how you say. So there's enough film on this Cowboys offense for people to know how to beat it. And I think that we're starting to see teams pick up on tendencies. Okay, how do you adjust to the adjustment is what I'm looking for from Brian Schottenheimer and those guys.
And I think when you're hearing, even cringe hearing you say, like, when the guys are like, they threw things at us we weren't ready for. Well, those first series, was it Osa who came out and just got a sack right away? The Lions were able to make adjustments because that pressure started. I started the game, I was like, oh, this defense is ready. They're playing. Yeah. And then they started to figure things out, and they made their adjustments. So it's almost hard to sit here and we didn't think we weren't ready for this.
Well, it's the truth. And then their offensive line, that was frustrating too, because it kind of made me feel like the beginning of the year, where it's their offensive line is toe up from the flow up. And you're expecting for Dallas to be able to take advantage of that more. I believe Dallas only blitzed three times.
They started blitzing earlier though.
Yes.
First two drives.
James Houston had a sack in that first series. and Ezeraku had a good tackle just before that. So
they went away
they
from
were
it.
driving.
Yeah.
Detroit was driving, and then 2 good defensive plays, and then Detroit had to settle for a Bates field goal.
Yeah, that was something that, I expected for Dallas to do more when you're talking about a Jared Goff, a guy that isn't very mobile, gets the ball out really quickly.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, is like they're going quick game and you playing soft coverage. You playing off-zone coverage. So it's like, what do you want your second? Like, there's not enough time for your defensive line to get there and to apply pressure with that quarterback being such a rhythm and timing quarterback. Jared Goff doesn't get enough credit. And then your corners are playing off so much that they can't really affect the route. So you got these 2 speed guys, Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they're running past your corners because there's no redirection. And then there's also, too, I thought the defensive line, especially later in the game, those motors weren't as hot, as fast as they normally are. So, I don't know. I do think that the D coordinator could have done some things a little bit differently to kind of help out the defense.
I want to go back to the slow starts that you were talking about because we've been talking about it all season long, but as this defense improved and got better, I feel like it's gotten a little worse. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do y'all feel like they got a little bit comfortable or too comfortable that now we know this defense can go out, make stops when they need to. Let's try to take some more time and make our adjustments and things like that. Do y'all feel like that was the case?
No, that the players felt too comfortable?
Just in the offense as a whole.
Oh, the Cowboys offense.
Cowboys offense.
Oh,
Do you
Cowboys
feel like the
I thought you were talking about
No, Cowboys.
Oh, gosh, no.
Do you feel like the Cowboys offense now they got a little bit maybe comfortable trying to?
No.
That's fair.
I think it's absolutely a reasonable question, but the answer is no. Credit Detroit.
Yeah, they played. That's what I was about to say. They just
there is no shame in losing to a fine football team like Detroit in Detroit. I know they've had their struggles this year. That is a talent-laden team. There is no shame in losing to Detroit, but it is a shame when you don't play your best football in what was essentially a playoff game.
Yeah.
So I know I'm using shame 2 ways here. It's not a shame to lose to Detroit, but it's a shame when you don't play your game. Yeah. But credit Detroit for taking you out of your game.
Yeah.
The timing was off for the offense all day because they couldn't run the ball as efficiently as they had throughout the season, and with that pass rush, the timing was off in the passing game. Dak just didn't have time, right? Or the timing's affected. It's just off that much. So, and then I agree with Aisha's point, regarding the defense, but we hadn't even mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs, right? I mean, that is a talent-laden team.
Yeah.
He's a psychopath.
Yeah, no, he really is. And that's what I was about to say, too. Like, it's defensively, they just got worked. They just got, like, the linebackers.
Yeah.
That linebacker film, y'all, is something.
Yeah. So when Nicole, you asked earlier about looking ahead to the draft in areas. I mean,
linebacker.
Yeah.
There you go.
I beg of thee.
But also, why are you not?
Huh?
Sorry, my bad. Why are you not playing a little bit more of Logan Wilson? Do you know of anything?
Well, I mean, it's nearly half and half. I could tell you.
I think he played like
A little less. He played a little less than Kenneth.
A little less in the previous 2 weeks. He had just a few snaps less than
But
than
that's
Kenneth
why you brought
Murray.
him over here. He was one of your best coverage linebackers.
Logan had-
Yeah. So against the 3 games leading into Detroit, Murray, these are his snaps. So Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Kansas City, 26, 38, 38. Logan Wilson, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Kansas City, 34, 24, 30. So basically an extra series or 2 series for Murray.
Yeah. Do you know if why he hasn't been?
Well, I know that they've still been doing it by series, so which is kind of interesting.
Okay, we're gonna take our second break here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. Be right back with more here in the SWBC studio.
Heck of a win, fellas.
Coach, the Cowboys beat us by 30 points.
No, I'm talking about my dog. He started eating fresh food from the farmer's dog and has lost 7 pounds.
Your senior dog with joint issues?
That's right, Steven. The pre-portioned meals of real meat and veggies help keep him lean, active, and feeling like a puppy again.
That's incredible. But what about the game?
The Cowboys smoked us. Hit the field, run some sprints.
Get 50% off your first box of the official pet food of the Dallas Cowboys, only at thefarmersdog.com/Cowboys.
Discover Aiden, the official luggage partner of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Known for top-tier engineering and craftsmanship, Aiden offers more than just bags. Originating from Australia and designed in New York, it merges fashion, design, and culture. Used by Dallas Cowboys players, staff, and the entire organization, Aiden provides style and functionality for all travelers. Visit AidenTheBrand.com and use code AidenXCowboys for 25% off your purchase. Travel like your favorite stars with Aiden.
When you're on the field, you know what it takes to lead your team and play with confidence. But that confidence shouldn't just stop at game time. It should follow you off the field, too. Join over 500 NFL players who trust Invisalign, the #1 doctor-recommended clear aligner brand. Ready to take the first step towards a smile you'll love? Visit Invisalign.com/NFL and find a doctor near you today. Transform your smile and take your confidence to the next level, both on the field and off.
All right, Cowboys fans, this one's for us. If the men in your life bleed blue and silver like we do, I've found the perfect way to elevate their game day rituals. Gillette just released their best razor in Cowboys colors, and it is everything a Cowboys fan could want. The new Gillette Labs official Dallas Cowboys licensed razor combines his Cowboys pride with Gillette's best shave. And with 50% longer lasting blades, it is truly the gift that keeps on giving. Get it while you can at Gillette.com/NFL. Gillette's best shave is also available as heated.
Get in the game this holiday season with the Dallas Cowboys youth football and dance camps presented by Invisalign. Athletes ages 6 to 16 take the holiday hustle to football camps on December 23rd and 27th. Future DCCs sparkle with America's Sweethearts on December 27th. Spend your holiday break learning from the best. Visit DallasCowboys.com/camps to learn more.
Welcome back into Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign. Nicole Hutchison, Brianna Aldridge, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison. Wake up!
Yeah.
Had to do it. Bree, you got that tweet up? Can you find it real quick? We're gonna go back. We're gonna bring the receipts.
You want it back?
Bring the receipts. Why not on Monday? That's fine.
I retweeted this from Mr. Clarence Hill. Brian Schottenheimer said the Cowboys are getting positive play from Kenneth Murray and Logan Wilson. The physicality of Murray. Their snap counts will remain the same.
All right, ladies, what's y'all's thoughts on? Okay, not.
I can see in the corner of my eye. I can't look at him.
Aisha is sinking beneath the table.
It's fine.
Melting.
Just stop melting. Unmelt.
There will be no changes.
Okay, thoughts, ladies, on... Okay, wow. Yeah, any thoughts? Besides melting in your chair?
I love that he's you know, we've seen Brian Schottenheimer. Yeah, I'm gonna stand beside him. That's my man. I'm gonna stand beside him. I think he just is doing what he's supposed to be doing, because most people that are watching that film see how your second level is getting torched. Every game. People have been attacking there all season, but Detroit, like a team like Detroit, can exploit it on a whole nother level because of a Jahmyr Gibbs, because they do a lot of work at the line of scrimmage, because of their quick game packages. So, my God, I think the speed of Detroit really gave this defense a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
He can say the nice thing.
Gibbs and Murray, they was like, I don't know if it was the first offensive drive, but it was just them two. That second level, and it was nasty work. It was nasty work, and they kept doing it.
Yeah, that was the catch for 26 yards by Gibbs.
Yeah,
This second warm up.
Hey, them, the linebackers, cornerbacks, whole secondary. Everybody was pretty much, like you said, and getting work.
Be a long tape session.
It's fine.
We
Talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it last week after the game, but just, one, I believe that, of course, the snap count for Savone Revel is too high, considering he's a player that just tore his ACL not even a year ago, and he's also a rookie. So we talk about it all the time. You don't want his confidence to be messed up. And considering he was playing in a primarily man scheme his entire college career, you're coming into I guess you can say primarily mostly zone scheme and Eberflus, and learning on the curve and things like that. Like, I truly believe his snap count should be diminished a little bit. But thoughts on the secondary and, whether you feel like it's where it needs to be right now?
Well, I think the snap count for Revel in particular got a little wonky, especially Thanksgiving, because of the hamstring injury to Kalen Carson.
Yes.
So that and then Diggs, there was some thought that anybody who thought that he was going to play in Detroit with short weeks of work for the entire team and not even a real practice, I think that was fantasy camp if you were thinking that he was going to be able to play then. But I think that Revel was thrown more into the deep end of the pool because of the injury situation at cornerback.
Yeah, I feel like it was based off of necessity that he's having to play more. But I totally agree with Nicole. I think limiting his snap count or just diminishing his snap count a little bit would be very beneficial to him. I mean, this is a tough out, with the Detroit receivers and stuff like that. Also, too, I think that brace, as of right now, still affects his change of direction. So there were a couple times you saw him go to step and to go, and he couldn't turn and go. So, but I don't want hit that one game to be what people think of him so far, because the tape prior to that, I mean, you see the awareness. Some of the things he struggled with last week, I've seen the awareness. I've seen the stickiness and coverage. I've seen the ability to mirror. I've seen him jam at the line of scrimmage, use his length. So I just feel like he also, too, just had a bad game. But I totally agree with you, Nicole, was that it is important that that the staff continues to encourage him and keep his confidence high, because with this only being second game out, this is a lot to me. Is this third?
Yeah, he's played 4.
Yeah, this is his fourth game out. I think that, it's important that you set the tone for his self-esteem if you can as well. So, yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm excited for his future.
He's fun.
I know it was a tough game in Detroit for a lot of people on defense, whoever plays that team. But, oh, my gosh, I am so sorry for, the size, the physicality.
I just want to see what this room looks like next year. It's going to look so different because, there's so many questions. I would like to see, I think Trayvon Diggs getting back on the field this season is going to tell you a lot about just where they are with him. There's still a lot of confusion on him missing these last 6 games. But I think if you want that to hold on to the little chance you have, I think you need a Trayvon Diggs back in there, 110%. Deron Bland's your number one. He had an off game, and then he was back, and then you saw, but like you mentioned, everybody had an off game. I think you jumped the gun on Kyer Elam. We just got rid of him 2 weeks ago. Reddy Stewart, no offense to him, no one knew who that was when they brought him in here. I just think there's a lot of questions. Kalen Carson, his injuries, they're consistent. The poor guy's so banged up. I think this room looks a lot different next season. And they're still, they're playing for now, but I think a part of what people are, the draft in the back.
I'm evaling.
Yeah, I just don't think this group is, of course it's not good enough, but I don't know if this is something you carry on to next season, just what I've seen.
Sure. So who are you letting go?
Oh my
if you
God.
could. Sorry. Dang, I'm sorry. I'm just straight up. Who stays, who doesn't? You got to obviously draft a cornerback. So, hey, we're talking about
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think that would be up there with what we're getting in the draft.
Somebody BPA, best player available, is that important? I guess honestly too, how they view Deron Bland is going to be important. I feel like Deron Bland has tackled pretty well since he's been in the nickel spot. He had some coverage stuff. He's dealing with, again, like you talked about, Jahmyr Gibbs. I was surprised that, Eberflus didn't opt to go more dime and he put a DB on him full time. There isn't a linebacker that can stick with him right now. Maybe there's a corner that can stick with him right now. But I do think that when you talk about Revel, don't know what's going to happen with Trayvon Diggs. Deron Bland is going to be here. So those are the only 2 guys we can guarantee is going to be here, or Savon Revel and Deron Bland. That's it. So are you comfortable? How comfortable you feel with Deron Bland? Because I think that's another conversation as well, is that we haven't talked about it much, but Deron Bland has had multiple foot injuries. And I do think I have seen it affect in spots how he is able to play the game, how he drives. Now, we have gotten to see him kind of come up and break on balls and stuff a little bit more when they're playing more man. But I do think it's also to what they're being asked to do defensively from a zone perspective is that they're just not adjusted to it. So the awareness there doesn't make any sense. with some guys on film.
How would you evaluate Matt Eberflus's scheme through the first 14, 15 weeks of the season? Because we stop sinking in your chair like that. because I feel like when he first, came in, we were expecting him to be a nice mix of zone and man. But I feel like we've seen a little bit more primarily zone that doesn't fit necessarily the skill set of your personnel. So how would you evaluate the way that Eberflus has schematically done things the first 14, 15 weeks?
Maybe you don't trust the guys to run man. Maybe you don't think that that's something that's I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. Now zone is something he's always done like that, so I'm not surprised by that. But I don't get the reasoning for playing 10 yards off. I mean, there's nothing wrong with respecting wide receivers. You respect Amon-Ra St. Brown. You respect Jamison Wilson, but we not about to sit up here. Williams, rather, we're not going to sit up here and just be like, hey, here's a free release. So much respect. No, like, I don't know. I don't understand some of the reasoning behind some of the decisions.
Christy?
I would just say that Eberflus, the man didn't forget how to coach in a year, okay? But I think that what everyone thought this defense would be and what he was thinking it was going to be changed at the end of training camp when you traded Micah Parsons.
I would agree with that.
So, and then with the
no trust
with the, and injuries are not an excuse. They are not, because every team has injuries, but they are reasons. And boy, you bring in a Quinnen Williams and those 3 games, and all of a sudden, with the additions and getting guys back from injury, all of a sudden he's a great coach again. And then you go and you get torched by the Lions, and it's back to the previous month. The guy has no idea what he's doing. Okay? So, look, you have to have players in this league.
Yeah.
You have to have players in this league. And while there's some great individual talent on the defense, it's not what they haven't all been together. It sounds like I'm making excuses.
No, it makes sense, though.
But I'm just trying to provide a different perspective on it, and just know that at times they've been playing with a hand tied behind their back. But you know what? That's every week for most teams in this league, and the Cowboys haven't been able to overcome that. And I will say that I remember Flus when he was here, linebacker coach, when Rod Marinelli was the defensive coordinator, and I love Flus. I do, as a person, and so I have a little more of a soft spot for him than the folks who are just judging for this year only.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think Flus, and I'm a Flus fan, the man of Flus, by the way. On these road games, I don't know how it always ends up being me and Matt Eberflus going to the bus at the same time, so we're in the elevator.
Oh, y'all be talking.
So I definitely want him to succeed. I'm almost 100% sure he'll be here and get a second chance at this. I don't think this is an organization who wants to see what it looks like to have another DC in here and try to figure it out. And I think that's a lot has to do with it as well. But to your point, talking about the personnel that he has, I think when it wasn't working for a couple games, he just went with the people that he trusted. And he forced those people into the scheme that he was developing. And there was a lot of, I think, especially again, I don't remember a defensive player really coming up and saying, hey, I've asked for this scheme because this isn't working, publicly. And I think I'm like, that's a big deal.
You're talking about when Trayvon said he wanted more
to
men?
me, that's a big deal, because that almost feels like it should be a in-house conversation, and not saying I know Eberflus or Schottenheimer's personalities behind closed doors, but that feels like something that I would personally want as a coach's respect to be discussed in-house. And sometimes, guys, there are frustrations after the game. I mean, we had players in here last year who have been very outspoken about some other things. I think that for the culture that you're trying to bring, I think that kind of clashed. And, that's your number one corner at that time saying that. And I'm sure, I feel like as a trickling effect, that kind of gives other guys that, well, yeah, this isn't working type of thing, That's just how I kind of see. I think for to his defense, if you will. But yeah, he's done some stuff that, even breaking down last game, just giving up so much space and not, challenging who you know is going to be trouble. And I see both ends. You know, if you create those one-on-one matches, they're going to get dusted. Well, they're getting dusted anyway. Like, I think that's how we're seeing it week after week. But I do think it's a personnel trust issue. So when we're talking about the draft coming up, maybe it does make a difference that he is going to be in those conversations to get guys who he actually feels like can be a part of this scheme, because just getting another DC in here just feels like a hot mess.
Well, that's part. I mean, look at all the DCs we've had, and you know, with these players having to change each year.
That's part of the problem.
Continuity is important in this
that's
league.
part of the problem, like y'all were saying. And with the uptick of zone, you know, I remember with Dan Quinn, I remember talking to Jordan Lewis and those guys about it all the time. They played men at a high clip. They were always top 5 in man coverage for, you know, that year. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with Eberflus wanting to have a mixture, or having guys that can run zone and can run man. You need to have a mix of them. You need to be able to play the matchup game. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think y'all are valid on the fact that he's kind of just been working with what he got in certain areas. And so I get, you know, kind of where he is situationally. I just still feel like within these games, there are points where I'm just like, well, you did this there. Why wouldn't you do that right there? Because you did it last game, and we seen it be effective. And even in this game, yeah, you're getting killed on the back end, but, like, just to not blitz as much as I would expect for them to, especially with dealing with a quarterback who is so heavily affected by pressure, and you're not really getting pressure as – it's just little things like that where I'm still questioning, like, well, what is the goal here? So maybe he'll be able to give us more information later, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, one of the things that I had said, like on one of my shows, was that, you know, you had Jared Goff throwing the ball into the ground multiple times on the first 2 drives. So getting out of what was working was very confusing to me. But when you talk about, you know, this team as a whole, where do you feel like they are? What did this loss teach you about where this team is at this stage of the season?
They're not good enough to beat 2 teams on the field, their opponent and themselves.
Oh.
And they beat themselves. I mean, give Detroit credit.
The
Detroit played well, but I'm sorry, too many mistakes. You cannot turn the ball over 3 times, go -3, and you can't have all these self-inflicted wounds with the penalties, period. Yeah. And that's every team, every week. And I'm sorry that it sounds like a broken record, but truisms, they're called truisms because they're true.
What about you, Brady?
Chrissy
had it. She's had it.
I go back to what I said. No shame in losing to the Lions. Absolutely no shame in Detroit. That was an electric atmosphere.
Really good game
you got the best effort, and credit that Lions defense.
They had a good defense. They had a good
man, they were great.
Plan.
Yes, they did. But it's a shame that you did not play your best ball.
But I think we learned that this team is not a playoff team just yet. That's what I think I learned.
Oh, no, we're a 6% chance of a playoff team now. Come
Please,
on,
Christy.
But it was a playoff feel. They talked about going in there. You know, we know every week we got to treat it like a playoff game because of the position we put ourselves in, you know, losing. Whew, every time I see the Cardinals lose, I'm like, man, I'm sick.
Yep.
They got 3 wins and one of them's again. It's fine. But to me, this team is not a playoff team yet. And if they were to go, I would almost, if I was a betting woman, but I'm not, it's against the rules, pretty sure they'd be 1. They're just not there yet.
Yeah.
It'd be against the rule. And I agree. I thought we were looking at this season as kind of a get your life together season anyway, to some degree. I mean, you lost a lot of key spots. You got a new coaching staff, totally new coaching staff coming in. I wanted Dallas to obviously play well and to, you know, do well through the season. But I definitely was looking at this as a season where I was like, I've been evaluating all season because you got a lot of new faces. You got new guys in here. You want to look at some of these young guys. So I agree. I think they're not ready yet. And what tells me that is I think moving forward, they have to figure out a counter for when they're struggling to run the ball. And every game that they have lost, especially on the road, they have struggled to run the ball. So it's like, okay, we know this offense is electric. We know that they're able to get things going. But what is with the receiving threats that you have, obviously CeeDee Lamb went out in this game, but with the receiving threats that you have, the offensive line that you have, the run game that you have, run scheme that you have to figure out how to get over when you can't run the ball. Because when people have taken the run game away from this offense, it has struggled. Not that Dak can't toss the ball around, can't whatever, but it really makes defense's job so much easier when they know they ain't got to load the box because you can't run the ball anyway. So it's just one of those things where I'm looking at, there's little kinks and stuff that I think defensively and offensively that they have to work out, but I would be extremely ecstatic about draft and all that stuff because they seem like they do have some good foundational pieces. Your offensive, your trenches are good to go. Your interior offensive line's good to go. Your defensive line's good to go. They're going to be here a while. You got a couple more guys to sew up, but I think you have a good foundation. How do you tweak it? How do you, improve upon it, refine it
and
more?
you'll have continuity with the staff.
I think the only thing, the disappointing part is the season that Dak has put on at 32 years old.
You're 100%
It's not going to last forever. I think that's the disappointing. And that 3-game stretch, coming back from the bye week, they look like a top 5-4 team in the NFL. That's the part that, eats a little bit.
But does that give you, again, we got to see a little sample size. Is that okay, that's encouraging because I know what you guys can be when you guys are together and playing well. Okay, what does it look like?
Yeah, but it's also frustrating because you know what it can be.
Yeah.
But when we talked about Quinnen Williams coming in here, I think what gives me hope is that this wasn't just now. This is for
the future.
Yeah. And you just need a couple. Now you can go get some guys. You got the draft picks. Go get some guys.
Yeah, but see, it makes me frustrated because, gosh, if you could have pulled the trigger on that a couple weeks earlier, we'd be in
they
a
waited
different
too long.
situation.
But I also think it's also we
long.
looked at this stretch of the season and we're like, well, some people were like, I don't know if they're going to win any of these games. They finished 3-1 in that stretch. So I think that's still something. And, of course, they know moral victories and losses, of course. But, you have to look at that and say that's still somewhat of a win. You take away the good things that you did, of course, fix up the bad things. One of mine was, I agree with all you ladies, but they're not one of the most physical teams right now in the league because you can't be out-physicaling Philly, of course, Eagles, and then when you get to Detroit, who is by far one of the most physical teams in the NFL, and you can't go toe-to-toe nowhere near the offensive line, defensive line. You got running backs, face masking you in the ground, under Bland. You just can't have that. So I would say that agreeing with, Bree, they're not a playoff team just yet, but they're also one of the not most physical teams in the NFL right now. And I know that they want to be, and it's possible to get there. So hopefully the Cowboys can. They got a big game, Sunday Night Football, Minnesota Vikings. Going to be a good one to watch. We're going to be breaking it all down here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk for the rest of the week. But that's a wrap for today's show. For Brianna Aldridge, Christy Scales, Aisha Morris, and I'm Nicole Hutchison. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow.
Go Chargers tonight.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.